Words are powerful. They shape our thoughts, they stir our emotions, and they linger in our memory long after they've been spoken. Think about it for a moment. There are certain words someone once said to you, maybe years ago, that you can still hear clearly in your mind. Those words carried a weight, they touched your heart, and they stayed with you. This is the incredible truth about communication. It isn't always about saying more, it's about saying the right things. And when it comes to making someone think about you nonstop, the secret lies in simplicity, in carefully chosen words that carry meaning far beyond their length. Now, here's something most people overlook in relationships. We tend to believe that grand gestures or constant communication are what keeps someone thinking about us. But often, the reality is the opposite. It's not about overwhelming someone with attention or trying to prove your worth through endless actions. What truly makes a lasting impression is the ability to spark emotion with just a few words. When your words connect with someone on a deeper level, they don't fade into the noise of everyday conversation. They echo. They replay in the quiet moments when he's alone, and they trigger feelings he can't easily shake off. This is why the concept of magic words is so powerful. We're not talking about manipulation or tricks. We're talking about language that creates emotional impact, language that makes him feel something so strongly that you become unforgettable. Words are not just sounds, they are experiences. The right words make him associate you with excitement, warmth, intimacy, or even challenge. And once that emotional anchor is created, it becomes almost impossible for him to stop thinking about you. Think about how advertising works. Entire industries spend billions of dollars trying to find just a few words that stick in your mind, words that you repeat, words that change your behavior. A 3-word slogan can become iconic. Now apply that to relationships. If the right 3 words, spoken with intention, can connect to his emotions, they don't just stay in his mind, they create desire, curiosity, and attachment. But here's the thing, words are only part of the story. The delivery matters just as much, if not more. You can say something ordinary, and if you say it with certainty, with warmth, or with playful confidence, it transforms into something extraordinary. On the other hand, even the most beautiful words lose their power if they're said with insecurity, doubt, or a need for approval. That's why these magic words aren't about memorizing a line. They're about embodying the energy behind them. They only work when you believe in your own value and speak from that place of strength. Imagine a moment where he least expects it. Maybe you're ending a conversation, maybe you're saying goodbye, or maybe you're just laughing together, and you drop those 3 words. Not the cliché phrases he's heard 100 times before, but words that make him pause, smile, or feel something deeply. That's when he walks away and suddenly can't stop replaying it in his head. That's when the seed is planted. That's when he starts missing you, even if you just left the room. It's important to understand that this is not about being someone you're not. It's not about faking charm or rehearsing lines to manipulate his emotions. It's about recognizing your own power in communication and using it with authenticity. When you align your words with your true feelings and self-respect, you come across as genuine. And genuine connection is what men, and people in general, find magnetic. Authenticity resonates because it's rare, and rarity creates value. So why does this matter so much? Because in a world where people are constantly distracted, where messages, notifications, and conversations compete for attention, standing out is not easy. But when you say something that triggers a deep emotional reaction, it cuts through the noise. He could be scrolling, working, or surrounded by others, and suddenly he remembers what you said. That memory turns into curiosity. Curiosity turns into longing, and longing turns into obsession. These 3 words are powerful not because they're complicated, but because they're unexpected. They carry a subtle mystery, an emotional pull that makes him wonder what you truly mean, and that wondering keeps him thinking. That's the beauty of words. They don't just express, they invite. They invite him to think, to imagine, and to feel. By the end of this talk, you'll understand exactly what these words are, why they work, and how to use them in a way that feels natural and true to you. You'll learn the psychology behind why men respond so strongly to them, and you'll see how simple shifts in your communication can change the entire dynamic of a relationship. Most importantly, you'll realize that the real magic isn't just in the words themselves, it's in the energy you carry when you say them. Because when you master this, you don't have to chase his attention. You don't have to overthink every message or wonder if you're enough. You'll know that the way you communicate leaves an imprint so strong that he can't help but think about you no matter where he is or what he's doing. And that, right there, is the kind of power that transforms not only how he sees you, but how you see yourself. When it comes to making someone think about you nonstop, the first truth to understand is that simplicity often carries more weight than complexity. Many people believe they need to pour out their heart in long, elaborate messages or deliver constant reminders of how much they care in order to stay on someone's mind. But in reality, it's often the short, simple, and intentional phrases that carry the greatest emotional impact. A few carefully chosen words can do more to trigger curiosity, attraction, and longing than an entire speech filled with effort and over-explaining. The reason is that our brains are wired to latch onto concise, emotionally loaded words. They're easier to remember, easier to replay, and harder to ignore. Think about it, if you've ever had someone say something brief yet powerful to you, you probably remember the moment clearly. Maybe it was a compliment that felt different from the rest. Maybe it was a phrase that surprised you. Or maybe it was just a small comment that carried more meaning than the person even realized. Those words didn't need to be long to matter. They mattered because of the way they made you feel. The same applies in romantic connections. Men don't always dwell on the endless details of conversations, but they do remember moments where they felt something deeply. That's where simplicity becomes your greatest advantage. What makes these simple words work is the emotional charge behind them. They are not random, they are chosen with intention. For example, think of the difference between telling someone, "I like you," versus saying something playful and slightly unexpected that implies affection in a way he doesn't hear from everyone else. The first is straightforward, but it might not linger. The second, because it's unique and emotionally colored, plants a seed in his mind. He begins to wonder about it, he replays it, and it takes root because it felt different. That difference is what keeps you circling in his thoughts long after the conversation ends. Another powerful aspect of simplicity is that it leaves space for imagination. When you say too much, you close the loop, you explain everything, you lay it all out, and there's nothing left for the other person to think about. But when you say something short and impactful, you leave room for his mind to wander. He fills in the gaps, he asks himself what you meant, and he begins to interpret your words in ways that keep you alive in his thoughts. This is why less is often more when it comes to emotional impact. The right 3 words can stir curiosity that 1,000 words could never create. Men in particular often respond strongly to straightforward communication because they are not always wired to process long, emotional explanations in the same way women do. That doesn't mean men lack depth, it simply means their attention is often captured more effectively by something clear, concise, and emotionally direct. When you give them a phrase that is both simple and emotionally loaded, it becomes a mental shortcut, something their mind keeps returning to without effort. Just like a catchy melody in a song that you can't get out of your head, these words replay in his mind because they are easy to hold on to and hard to shake off. It's also important to note that simplicity doesn't mean predictability. If you say something he's heard 1,000 times before, it won't stand out. The power comes from finding a phrase that feels authentic to you, but unique to him. That uniqueness makes him feel singled out, chosen, and seen in a way he doesn't often experience. When he feels like your words were meant only for him, it triggers a sense of exclusivity. Exclusivity is one of the strongest psychological drivers of desire. When someone feels that what they are receiving from you is not given freely to everyone else, it becomes far more valuable. Of course, the words themselves matter, but so does the moment you choose to say them. The element of surprise amplifies impact. If you say something meaningful in an unexpected moment, maybe when you're parting ways or in the middle of a playful conversation, it catches him off guard in the best way. He wasn't braced for it, which makes it hit harder. That surprise ensures it doesn't just fade into the background, but instead carves itself into his memory. He replays it because he didn't see it coming, and it felt spontaneous and real. Confidence also plays a crucial role here. Simple words can feel empty or forced if they're delivered with insecurity. But when you say them with belief in yourself, with a calmness that shows you're not seeking his approval, but simply sharing something genuine, the effect multiplies. Men are drawn to women who radiate confidence, and when that confidence is embedded in your communication, it elevates even the simplest phrase into something unforgettable. It's not just what you say, it's the unspoken message behind it, that you value yourself enough to say it without fear. Simplicity also prevents overexposure. When you constantly pour out words, they lose their value. But when you say less, your words carry more weight, they become rare, and rarity creates desire. If every conversation is filled with predictable affirmations or explanations, nothing stands out. But when once in a while you say something short, powerful, and intentional, it hits him differently. It makes him stop, it makes him pay attention, and it makes him replay those words when you're not there. At the heart of all this is understanding that men don't fall for constant availability. They fall for the emotions you trigger when you're around and the space you leave for them to crave when you're not. Simple, meaningful words do exactly that. They act like a spark, small in size but powerful in effect. They ignite emotions that keep burning long after the moment is over. That's the magic of simplicity. It lingers, and when you master it, you'll find that he doesn't just hear your words in the moment, he keeps hearing them in his mind over and over, and with every replay, he thinks of you more deeply. What truly makes words unforgettable is their ability to create an emotional anchor. An emotional anchor is something that ties a feeling to a specific phrase or moment so strongly that the two become inseparable. When you use the right words with the right energy, he doesn't just hear them, he feels them. And every time he recalls those words, he relives the emotion you made him feel. That's what keeps you on his mind, even when you're not around. He isn't just thinking about the words themselves. He's thinking about the experience, the warmth, the spark, or the intimacy that came with them. Human beings are emotional creatures, and while logic plays a role in how we process the world, it's emotions that truly drive memory and desire. If you think about your own life, the moments you remember most clearly are usually tied to strong feelings, joy, excitement, nervousness, or love. The same applies to romantic connections. When a man associates you with emotions that feel rare, uplifting, or meaningful, he doesn't just think about you casually, he replays those feelings in his mind over and over. Words that serve as emotional anchors are powerful because they're shortcuts straight into his heart. One way this happens is through positive reinforcement. For example, when you use words that highlight the best parts of him, his effort, his humor, his uniqueness, you're anchoring his sense of pride and confidence to your presence. Every time he hears those words, or even remembers them, he's reminded that you see something in him that maybe others don't. That feeling of being truly noticed and valued is addictive. He wants to come back for more, and in the meantime, he keeps thinking about the person who gave it to him. But anchoring doesn't always have to be about praise. It can also be about creating moments of intimacy or playfulness that leave him smiling long after the conversation ends. When you say something light, teasing, or affectionate in just the right way, you tie that playful energy to yourself. He goes about his day, and suddenly he remembers your words and feels that rush of fun again. The memory becomes more than words. It becomes a feeling he can't shake off. And the more he feels it, the more he starts to crave being around you. Anchors are powerful because they are not about quantity, they're about intensity. You don't need to constantly say the same things over and over. In fact, repeating them too much can dull their impact. Instead, when you use words sparingly, in the right moment, with genuine emotion behind them, they leave a stronger imprint. He knows you didn't just say them casually. you meant them. And that authenticity is what makes them stick. This is why timing is so important. Imagine two scenarios. In one, you casually toss out a compliment when he's distracted, barely paying attention. In another, you say it after he's shared something vulnerable or when he's looking right at you, fully present. Which do you think will land deeper? The second, because the timing created an emotional charge. Anchoring works best when the words match the moment, when they heighten the emotion that's already present. In those moments, what you say becomes cemented in his memory because it felt like it belonged uniquely to that experience. It's also worth noting that emotional anchors don't always have to be positive in a soft sense. They can also be tied to challenge. Sometimes the words that stick most are the ones that make him rise to meet your standard, the ones that playfully call him out or remind him that he needs to show up. When spoken with confidence and warmth, those words create an anchor of respect. He may not admit it out loud, but he'll replay them later, and in that replay, he thinks of you. Respect anchors are just as powerful as affectionate ones because they show him you're not afraid to speak truth, and that boldness lingers in his mind. Emotional anchoring also taps into the power of exclusivity. If he feels like the words you've said to him are not something you hand out freely to everyone else, their value multiplies. Exclusivity makes him feel chosen, and being chosen is one of the strongest emotional triggers in relationships. When he feels that certain words are just for him, phrases you use only with him, or moments that felt uniquely personal, he can't help but play them back. It creates a bond that feels like it belongs only to the two of you. And that bond is hard to let go of. The beautiful thing about anchoring is that it doesn't take effort to keep it alive once it's created. After the moment passes, his own mind does the work for you. The brain naturally replays emotionally charged experiences because it wants to relive them. So when you've used words that anchor him to feelings of joy, excitement, intimacy, or respect, his own thoughts become your greatest ally. He doesn't need to see you or hear from you to feel your presence. Your words keep echoing in his head, carrying the emotions you gave him. And this is where true attraction begins to deepen. It's not just about physical chemistry or fleeting interest. It's about the invisible thread that ties him back to you even when you're not around. That thread is built through emotional anchors, and the stronger they are, the more he feels compelled to stay connected. He may not even realize why he keeps thinking about you, but the truth is, those simple words you spoke created an emotional experience that he doesn't want to forget. So when you're intentional with the way you speak, when you understand that every phrase has the potential to become an anchor, you step into a place of power in your relationships. You're no longer guessing how to make him think of you. You know that the feelings you create with your words will do the work for you. And that's what keeps you unforgettable. What makes certain words so unforgettable is the sense of scarcity and exclusivity they create. People don't deeply value what they can get from everyone. They value what feels rare, personal, and unique. In relationships, this truth is magnified. When a man feels like you give something to him that you don't hand out to the world, it triggers an instinctive sense of desire. He starts to think of you as special, different, and irreplaceable. The right words said in the right way can create this exact effect. They signal that he holds a position in your life that no one else occupies, and once he feels that, it becomes almost impossible for him to stop thinking about you. Scarcity is one of the strongest psychological triggers in human behavior. When something is rare, we automatically assign it higher value. That's why people rush to buy limited edition items, or why experiences that happen once in a lifetime feel so precious. The same principle applies emotionally. If every conversation with you is filled with generic compliments, endless availability, or predictable responses, nothing stands out. But when your words are thoughtful, intentional, and reserved for moments that matter, they become a kind of treasure. He knows he can't get them anywhere else, and that makes them unforgettable. Exclusivity takes this even deeper. When your words communicate that he is chosen, that he occupies a unique place in your heart or mind, he feels elevated. It's not about flattery. It's about making him feel that your connection is one of a kind. A simple phrase, when delivered in a way that carries exclusivity, can become something he replays in his head again and again. It makes him feel like he's part of something private, something intimate that the rest of the world doesn't see. That sense of being the only one builds a powerful emotional bond. This is why timing and context matter so much. Imagine telling a man something personal in a quiet moment when it's just the two of you. That phrase immediately becomes exclusive because it belongs to the intimacy of that moment. He remembers it not only because of the words, but because of how it made him feel singled out. Contrast that with a compliment you might throw out casually in a group setting. It may still be nice, but it doesn't carry the same impact because it doesn't feel rare. Exclusivity is not just about the words themselves, it's about the environment and the energy in which they're delivered. Another aspect of scarcity and exclusivity is restraint. When you don't give everything away at once, you leave space for curiosity. Curiosity is one of the most magnetic forces in attraction. If he feels like he can predict every word you'll say, his mind won't hold on to them. But if you occasionally surprise him with words that are rare, playful, or unexpectedly vulnerable, he's left wanting more. That tension keeps him thinking about you long after the moment has passed. He wonders when the next time will be, what you'll say next, and what it will mean. That wondering itself keeps you alive in his thoughts. Scarcity also protects the value of your words. When someone is too available or gives too much too often, it can create comfort, but it doesn't create longing. Longing comes from space. If you always hand out validation or affirmation, it loses its weight. But when you hold back and only express something meaningful at the right moment, it feels significant. It tells him that your words are not cheap, they carry value because they're not given lightly. That's when he truly listens, and that's when he remembers. Exclusivity works not only in romance, but in the way people form bonds in general. Think about your closest friendships or mentors. Their words matter to you more than strangers because they come from a unique relationship. You don't just value the words themselves, you value who they come from. In romance, when a man feels that your words are not for everyone, but for him alone, he attaches greater weight to them. This attachment becomes a loop in his mind. He replays the phrase, remembers how it felt, and desires to feel it again. One subtle but powerful way to create exclusivity with words is to connect them to shared experiences or inside moments. When you use words that only the two of you understand, it creates a private world. It's like having a secret language, and that sense of belonging to something exclusive is incredibly addictive. He feels like he's part of something no one else has, and that makes him think of you constantly because the memory of those words is tied to the uniqueness of your bond. Confidence is what ensures that scarcity and exclusivity don't come across as withholding or manipulative. It's not about holding back love to create artificial value. It's about knowing that your presence and words are valuable and treating them that way. When you speak with calm confidence, when you allow silence instead of filling every moment, you naturally create space for your words to matter more. You're not trying to impress, you're simply being intentional. That intention makes everything you say resonate deeper. At its core, making a man think about you nonstop isn't about overwhelming him with effort. It's about leaving him with moments he can't forget, words that feel rare, words that make him feel chosen, words that belong only to the two of you. These are the ones that live rent-free in his mind. And when you master the balance of scarcity and exclusivity, you'll notice a shift. He won't just enjoy your presence in the moment, he'll carry it with him everywhere, wondering when he'll get to experience it again. This is the power of words that are rare and personal. They make him pause, they make him feel, and they make him crave more. And once you've created that space in his mind, you don't need to chase his attention, because his thoughts will keep running back to you. What makes words truly magical is not just the sound of them, but the confidence and energy behind them. You can say the right phrase, but if it's delivered without conviction, it loses its power. On the other hand, Even the simplest words become unforgettable when they're backed by authenticity, self-worth, and certainty. Men are incredibly sensitive to energy, even if they don't always realize it consciously. When you speak from a place of strength and confidence, he doesn't just hear your words, he feels them. That feeling lingers far longer than the sentence itself. Confidence communicates that you know your value, that you're not afraid of silence, and that you don't need to force someone to pay attention to you. This is magnetic. Think about how different it feels when someone says, "I like being around you," in a hesitant tone versus when someone says it calmly, directly, and with steady eye contact. The first may feel nice, but it doesn't stick. The second feels grounded, undeniable, and it leaves an impression. Confidence gives words their weight. When you speak with confidence, you're not begging for validation. You're not seeking permission for your feelings to exist. You're simply expressing yourself with ease. This creates safety and attraction at the same time. Safety, because a man feels like he's with someone secure in herself, and attraction, because that security is rare. Most people stumble when they try to impress. True confidence is relaxed, unhurried, and natural. That calm assurance makes a man not only remember your words, but replay them over and over again because of how they made him feel. Authenticity is the second part of this. A man can tell when words are rehearsed, manipulative, or said just to trigger a reaction. That kind of energy doesn't last. But when your words are authentic, when they come from a place of truth, they carry a force that no strategy can replicate. If you tell a man something that genuinely reflects how you feel, he knows it. That sincerity cuts through the noise of the world. In a time when so many people put on masks, authenticity stands out. It's refreshing, it's unforgettable, and it makes him attach not just to your words, but to the real you behind them. This combination of confidence and authenticity turns even the simplest phrases into powerful emotional anchors. You don't need poetic language or dramatic declarations. A simple, "I trust you," spoken with certainty, can be more powerful than an entire speech. A quiet, "I appreciate you," said with real sincerity, can stay in his mind for days. It's not about the complexity of the words. It's about the truth and conviction behind them. Confidence also shows up in how you use silence. People who lack self-worth rush to fill every pause, afraid that silence means disconnection. But silence, when used with confidence, is incredibly magnetic. It gives space for your words to sink in. When you say something meaningful and then let it breathe, it forces the other person to sit with it. That pause amplifies the impact. He's left thinking about what you said long after, not because you overwhelmed him with more words, but because you trusted the power of what you already shared. Another element that makes confidence so attractive is the refusal to over-explain. When you're confident, you don't need to justify every word you say. You trust that your feelings and thoughts are valid without needing endless explanation. For example, saying, "I love when you do that," and leaving it there is far more powerful than piling on a dozen reasons why. Over-explaining dilutes the impact, while confident brevity makes it sharp, clear, and memorable. Men respect that. It makes them pay attention because they feel the strength of your conviction. Confidence also carries a sense of boundary. It communicates that you won't just say anything to win someone over, and you won't stay silent when something matters. This balance of speaking up when necessary and holding back when it's wise creates an aura of self-control that's deeply attractive. A man knows he can't take your words for granted because they come from a place of strength. And when he does hear them, they stick in his mind with greater weight because he knows they're not empty or careless. Energy is everything. You could whisper 3 simple words and make them unforgettable if your energy is aligned with confidence and truth. Likewise, you could say the same 3 words loudly and they'd mean nothing if your energy feels insecure or desperate. A man doesn't just hear the sound of your voice, he feels the emotional vibration behind it. That's what makes him think about you nonstop. It's not the words alone, it's how you embody them. Think of it like music. A single note can stir emotion depending on how it's played. A violin can play the same note as a piano, but the emotion it evokes is different because of the energy and tone behind it. The same is true with words in relationships. The delivery, the tone, the confidence, the sincerity, these shape the way your words land. And when they land deeply, they echo in his thoughts for a long time. So when you think about the magic words that make a man think about you nonstop, remember this: the words themselves are only half of the magic. The real power comes from the confidence, authenticity, and energy with which you deliver them. If you believe in your value, if you speak from a place of truth, if you're not afraid of silence, then your words become unforgettable. They stop being just phrases and start becoming emotional experiences. And it's those experiences he replays again and again, long after the conversation has ended. If this message resonated with you, don't just let it end here. Carry it into your life and watch how things change. And if you found value in what you heard today, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you never miss the insights that can transform your relationships and your confidence. Your journey to love, growth, and self-worth continues right here, so join the community and stay connected.